Okay, so hey, this is Jake Parker, and I wanted to try out doing more video stuff. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Will Terry, and he's saying, Jake, you should do more YouTube videos. And so I'm just gonna try it out and see how long this one takes me to put together and upload and stuff, and see if I can fit stuff like this into my schedule. But I thought I'd start off by just drawing a robot, and I actually haven't drawn a robot in several weeks because I've been sort of, I don't know, I guess all roboted out. um, but I thought uh, I woke up kind of with a nose cold this morning, or head cold, whatever you call it, cold, and I didn't feel like drawing anything. And my go-to thing when I don't feel like drawing is a robot, because the thing I like about them is you don't have to know anatomy. You don't have to know correct proportion. You can just lay down some cool shapes and then add mechanics to them, and um, and you got yourself a robot. And usually the farther you stray from normal human proportions, the better they look. So I guess you could say when I'm lazy, I draw robots. So maybe that's good that I haven't drawn robots in a long time, because I have not been lazy. And the truth is, I've been taking on a lot of freelance stuff lately. A lot of jobs have been coming in and keeping me busy, and that's good. Um, so I guess what you're seeing here, I have my camera actually attached to my lamp, so whenever I race and it shakes the table, which shakes the lamp. Hope that's not too jarring. But what you see I'm doing here is I'm having a hard time figuring out the face, coming up with something unique. So I just keep erasing and trying stuff. When I'm drawing, excuse me, at this stage it's just loose, free-form stuff, and I'm just trying to find a cool shape, trying to get the feel of it. Um, in my mind, I'm thinking structure. I'm thinking three-dimensionally. I'm not thinking flat, scribbled pencil lines, but I'm thinking a full, uh, three-dimensional structure that wraps around, shapes wrap around the planes, uh, wrap around the object, and once that's all laid in, then I'll start inking. And I don't like to, when I'm doing something sketchy or quick, I don't like to get too detailed in the pencil stage, because I like to find out a lot of things with the pen. I like to explore with the pen, and so that's why I leave it really loose. I like how that face turned out. Time to ink, I think. Um, so what I'm inking with is the Pentel Pocket Brush, and it's a sturdy little brush pen that can get really nice, fine line work. You can see here, and then it could get really thick when you need it to. So it's perfect, and actually makes drawing go by a lot quicker. Yeah, so I'm starting with the face. A lot of times I do start with the face, just because I feel like it anchors the whole body. The problem, though, with starting with the face on this one is the ink doesn't dry too fast on my sketchbook. I'm sketching in a Moleskine sketchbook, and I guess drawing in a Moleskine sketchbook. And this ink does not dry very fast, so when my hand goes over to draw the rest of the robot, I have to make sure I lift it up a little bit so it doesn't touch the ink, and sometimes I forget. So this guy does get smeared a little bit later on. Yeah, just adding in details. This at this stage of my drawing ability, adding mechanical details is almost second nature. Like I've drawn so many robots and I've drawn so many machines that I've just got a bank of mechanical shapes in my head, and it's just a matter of slapping them down and seeing how I can bend them and contort them and make them a little bit more interesting than I drew them the last time. What's interesting is that those neck ridges right there, I was drawing them and I was thinking, oh, I got that shape from Eric Canetti probably. And he was one of my favorite comic artists when I was a young budding artist, and I loved checking out his stuff and seeing how he drew machines and things. Him and Dave Johnson were a huge influence on me, and two other artists. Those were my American artist influences. The other artist influences as far as machinery and drawing mechanically is Masamune Shirow, the guy that does Appleseed and Ghost in the Shell, and also Yukito Kishiro, who drew Battle Angel Alita, and I guess currently doing a book with her as well, which I haven't read. I don't know, I haven't gotten into this version of her exploits, but the first 8 books that he did were just genius. I love those things. I want to make something like that someday. An epic sort of sprawling character piece where we see a character go from completely innocent and doesn't know how to do much, is exploring the extremes of what their body can handle and their personality can handle, and then they go from that to being, fully formed, a full person. That would be cool to do. The problem with that is it takes a long time, and I'd say one of my biggest weaknesses is I like immediate results, and sometimes I take on projects that have immediate results, and what I need to do is not care too much about immediacy, but probably care more about the quality of something. That's probably something I should work on. So you can see here my pen's really wet. The ink is just coming out fat. It's kind of hard to get some of those nice details in there. And so sometimes what I do when it's too fat is I'll just actually wipe it on the other page and get some of that ink out there, and it dries out the tip just a little bit so I can get some less fat lines. I will say that when it is like that, you do get some interesting shapes, but when they get into doing some technical bits, it's hard to get in there when your pen is spilling out so much ink. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, personal projects. Yeah, so the big thing that's been giving me a headache is, what do I do with my career right now? What do I do with my projects? I love comics. I love drawing comics, but they take a lot of time and they take a lot of energy, and when you've got a family to support, which I do, I tend to choose projects that might pay a little bit better for the time involved. And so historically, the comics that I've done haven't paid enormously well. Missile Mouse was good, but I did Missile Mouse at a time when Scholastic was paying a lot for their graphic novels, and now The advances aren't as big. So I've been resident to go back there and do that again because Missile Mouse took each one of those books took a year to finish. I was working full time too at Blue Sky, and I did a year of um, I did sorry, my brain is drifting. I worked on those for a year at night. So I would get home from work and eat dinner with the family and read stories and tuck kids in bed, and then I'd go down to the basement and draw Missile Mouse until 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and then get up the next day and get kids off to school and go to work. And it was just hard, but I grew so much as an artist during that. It was huge. I kind of look at that as like my graduate school. Uh, when I finished those 2 graphic novels, I was I had figured out how to draw comics, not just how to lay out a page and write a story, but how to draw them efficiently. And even since then, I've gotten even better than that. But so I don't regret it at all, and I was paid just fine for those, so it was worth it. Um, but nowadays, if here's the problem: is there's a lot more, I guess, time versus work versus money. It's a lot better ratio for me in children's books than it is in comics. And the thing that I realized too, and my agent was telling me this, is she's like, Jake, your stories, all your comic stories, are perfect children's books. And so if I look at outside of Missile Mouse, all my Flight and my short stories, the stories from Antler Boy, they would all make nice little children's books. And so I know I have that in my wheelhouse. I can write nice little tight stories that translate well to short comics or to children's books. But I have in me these big, sprawling, epic stories that I want to tell as well. Hugo Earhart became one of those stories, and I've since changed the characters and changed the world a little bit, and it's turned into something bigger and different. But I really want to tell that story. On the other hand, too, I've got the big story for Skull Chaser, and I love that character as well. And so I think for me right now, comics are still kind of a side thing while I do freelance work and I work on my children's books and I focus on that stuff. And I'm gonna always have a comic project in the works, and my goal is to publish some form of comic, something a year, big or small, and just take it from there and see what sticks and see what works. So this was good. Thanks for listening. It was kind of good to just speak my mind and talk about all that stuff. Anyway, there's my robot. I kind of based it off a little bit of Miyazaki's robot from Castle in the Sky. This is one of my favorite films, Castle in the Sky. He's got the giant robot holding a little bird. But anyways, all right. If you like this, let me know, and I'll do more of these. If you don't like it, just tell me to stop. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.